Hey, it's Mazzy here, and this is the Music Stupid. It's the Music Stupid, number 4. I pulled some albums from my collection that I adore, and I want to share them with you. And some of you may have heard of some of these, and some of them may be new, old records, nothing brand new, but really a variety of fusing idioms and fusing genres. So here we go, 5 records that I think you should know about. Again, this is not about the mastering. This is not about if they're audiophile or not. They just sound friggin' great when you put them on a record player and play them. So enjoy these 5 records. From New Zealand, 1990. This is the year my son was born. He was born at the end of that year. And this is a band from New Zealand, the Chills. This is a song called Submarine Bells, an album, I should say, called Submarine Bells. And I just fell in love with this record when it came out. Of course, I originally got it on compact disc. It was that point of view, that time. But look at this beautiful cover, right? This is a bit of a power pop, of a jingly, jangly jingle pop. And the song that opens up the record, Heavenly Pop Hit, is literally just that. It's a very commercial, wonderful, just a record that sucks you in, that grabs you, that makes you feel good, that's really easy on the ears. And I think this was a huge hit in New Zealand. It got some indie play here, some college radio. It did pretty well here. I don't think it was a big hit, but I love this. I love this song. I can't remember how I heard it. Was it MTV days or beyond that? I have the CD, their first 2 albums I have on compact disc. And about 4 years ago, they reissued these records. Love this record. They've been touring recently, and about 4 years ago, they came through Seattle in a really tiny club, and I missed out on it. But I think they've been kind of getting back together. There's some issues with the bands over the last 30 years, some personal issues, some medical issues, some issues that musicians seem to have. But I highly recommend this if you like jingle pop, if you like power pop. But they're just a great sounding record. And the vocals of the lead singer, I literally forgot his name, just has a really unique voice, and a fantastic record. From New Zealand, the Chills. Let's go with something completely different. I'm going to pull a jazz record, a solo piano record. This is from, I think this was from 1959, I believe. Am I right about that? This is, look at that. Monk on a cable car. I don't know where they took this picture, but that's William Claxton photographed this. A very famous photographer, very heavy into the jazz scene. A lot of famous, wonderful jazz musicians, jazz album covers were by William Claxton. And this was done as a solo Monk recording at a club Fugazi in North Beach. It borders, I think it's on, is it on Vallejo? It borders North Beach and Chinatown in San Francisco. For many years, for literally 3 or 4 decades, it was the home of Beach Blanket Babylon. That's Club Fugazi. And he was doing a series of shows at the Black Hawk in the Tenderloin, or down on Hyde Street. And a club infamous for, it was a great jazz club. Before my time, I never made it. It's been torn down. It's literally still a parking lot. There's a famous, great album by Miles Davis, Live at the Black Hawk, a double album that was recorded there. But he was doing a series there, and I think a couple of the shows at that concert, Monk played alone because I think a couple members of his band were sick. This is done all solo piano. I think it's the 2nd or 3rd solo piano album he did, and it's really a lovely record. This is a Japanese Riverside edition. This is probably I'm trying to think, 80s pressing, probably I'd say an 80s pressing, and it's a really great recording, recorded by Orrin Keepnews, who started Riverside Records in the late 50s on the East Coast. Later, he would move to the West Coast, and Riverside was sold to Fantasy Records in 71. Actually, I think almost the exact same time that Prestige was sold to Fantasy. And Orrin Keepnews, over the years, would do recordings and productions and reissues for Fantasy Records and Riverside Records, and I had a chance to hang out with them during a number of sessions talking to him at KSAN Radio. We do an afternoon Sunday show, and we chatted about jazz, about Bill Evans. He's the one who signed Bill Evans initially, but again, William Claxton's photograph there of his portrait, and the cover of the great, anything San Francisco, I'm going for. I want to talk about the San Francisco punk scene, the post-punk scene, art rock in San Francisco. This is their soul album, The Mutants. The Mutants had records on various comps in San Francisco. I love about this, Fun Terminal was on, it just was adjacent about the bus terminal in San Francisco, and it was this sort of arcade, pretty seedy arcade at this point in the 1980s. This is 1982. Okay, this is their soul album. They're art rock, post-punk, new wave-ish. They were a fun group. I saw them many times around San Francisco, and they played throughout the city with all the bands in the punk scene at the various clubs, Def Club, Mabuhay Gardens, on Broadway, all the clubs. I mean, they were a staple in the city. This record was ultimately produced by Snakefinger, who's part of the collective with Tuxedo Moon and the Residents, and it's a very fun, upbeat, not hardcore record at all, a little campy in some ways, but original pressing, I think it's been released over the years. I think a very local press, small press out of San Francisco, but The Mutants from 1982, a band I saw quite a bit, and a really fun record. Again, very theatrical. This is a record I adore, and they did 2 records as a couple, and of course they both did individual records. And the story goes, Jeff Muldaur was a roommate of Joe Boyd and his girlfriend, actually Jeff's girlfriend, Maria D'Amato, in the Boston area. Joe Boyd ends up leaving the Boston area, goes to London and starting producing a bunch of shows, brings blues artists there, and then ends up opening the UFO Club in London. The house band was Pink Floyd. Joe Boyd produced the first Pink Floyd single, as well as he was sort of the king producer, the main guy that produced all these great late 60s folk rock acts like Fairport Convention, Nick Drake into the 70s, Invisible String Band, and just a lot of records in that genre. And it has a great autobiography, Bicycle Something, which is a really a wonderful autobiography about the music business and about his story, which I highly recommend. I'm pivoting, as you can see. But this album is Jeff and Maria Pottery Barn. Of course, Maria D'Amato marries Jeff and becomes Maria Muldaur. And those of you who know that first album on Warner Brothers with Midnight at the Oasis was a huge hit, another record Joe Boyd produced. But they were all roommates together, and the rest is history. But they did a number of, I think, 2 solo albums here, or 2 duet albums for Warner Brothers Records, and then Jeff Muldaur did some records on his own. Maria goes on her own, and the rest is history. Maria has the huge hit. What a wonderful record. Rycooter's on it. Clarence White is on it. That first Maria Muldaur record, that was a huge hit for Warner Brothers. But this album of the 2 of them is fantastic. They did duets together. They each sing. And on here is an amazing, beautiful cover version of the song Brazil. Brazil, da, 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 da. And that's the version from this album that was used in the film Brazil with Jonathan Pryce that Terry Gilliam directed. I think I don't know if it's the beginning or the closing credits, but this is a really wonderful, it's kind of a folky, it's a folk record, but really, bluesy folk, more on the folk side of it. And I highly recommend this record. Again, this is on Warner Brothers Records. It's got a good mood to it, a great feel to it. Just a nice, a feel-good record. They were in together. Maria was with the Jim Queston jug band out of the East Coast, and it had that kind of jug band folky sound too. So this is Jeff and Maria Pottery Pie. Great. And I'm going to end up with an artist that I adore. And when you hear about this record, if you don't know about this person, it seems like it's a novelty record, a campy record. And it's anything but. It's an amazing country record with poignant, humorous take on things. And this is the Vanguard, the sole record on Vanguard of Soul American, Kinky Friedman, and his Texas Jew Boys. He made one album on Vanguard, then he made an album on ABC Record, then he made an album on Epic. Years later, he ran for governor of Texas. He wrote a series of very successful mystery novels, but Kinky Friedman, hysterical sense of humor, but really a great country artist, great country band with some amazing songs. Now, it opens up with reserve the right to refuse service to you. So there's a tongue-in-cheek, over-the-top sensibility of his lyrics. There's Highway Cafe, Soul American, Flying Down the Freeway, and the last song on side one is Ride 'em Jew Boy. Ride 'em Jew Boy, ride around the old corral. I'm with you, boy. Gonna ride 6 million miles. I mean, talk about bad taste, right? The opening of side one starts with a really great women's liberation song. Get your biscuits in the oven and your buns in the bed. Women's liberation is going to your head. Now, his thing is all tongue-in-cheek, and it's so irreverent and so politically incorrect, and it's hysterical. This is a fabulous record, great band. Then High on Jesus, The Ballad of Charles Whitman. If you don't know who Charles Whitman is, I'm going to tell you. He's that rifleman who shot from the Texas Tower at the University of Texas and unfortunately killed those students, and there's a song about that. Then he goes into the Top 10 Commandments, Western Union Wire, and Single Eagle Express. Now, not on this record. I think it was his next record. One of my favorite songs of his is They Ain't Making Jews Like Jesus Anymore. That's not on this one, is it? No. It's on the next record. And it's hysterical. He's the real deal. I saw him several times live in the late 70s. And I saw him once, I guess it was into the 2000s at the Jewish Community Center in San Francisco. And this guy, he's the real deal. He's Kinky Friedman on his way to becoming the first Texas Jewish country music star. Quote, Newsweek magazine. Anyway, thanks for watching. This is about the music, stupid. It's not about pressings or mastering or friggin' audiophile crap. It's just about great records and great music. So I'll see you around. I'll see you around the old corral. Mazzy loves you.